All right. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Wheel of Horror, the podcast where two best friends spin a wheel once a week. It chooses the horror movie or the topic of discussion, and they discuss it. So today, obviously, you can see we're video. This is our first time, so we're going to try this out, and I'll see how it goes, but we're going to give it a shot. So today, what we're doing is we're discussing the top 10 horror villains of all time. And I chose 10, Eric chose 10. And the way that we basically wanted to do this is the ones that have made the most cultural impact, the ones that are the most scary, the ones that, just kind of made the biggest impact on the horror genre in general. So it doesn't need to be the one that gets the most kills. There might be a little bit of personal bias in here, but overall, we're going to decide right here and now what the number one horror villain of all time is.
And we've
So,
seen quite a few movies. We've seen quite a few. So I would say,
yeah.
and on this wheel especially. But yeah.
So yeah, we're almost at 400 episodes, our first video one, and we decided instead of talking about a movie, like let's do a topic. And yeah, so here we are. So do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first? What are you thinking? You're
Oh,
muted.
should we go down our top 10, like 10, 9, 8?
Yeah, so what it is your we can either go the lowest to the high. I think we should do that. I think we should go the lowest to the highest. So you tell me your lowest one, and then I'll mark it down or whatever, and then we'll do mine. And at the end, we'll add the scores together. It'll make sense. But yeah, so start with your. Do you want to go first? Or you want me to go
Sure, I'll
first?
go first.
All right. So start with your lowest, like the guy that's the lowest, and then we'll
Okay.
go from there.
Okay, I wanted to give this guy some love, not that he's a guy. Pennywise.
Okay. All right.
I know. I mean, obviously, it's been done in the 90s. It's a Stephen King book, probably one of his biggest books, and it's also was redone in I think 2017 was part one, or was it 16? Something along those lines.
Yeah.
And I think that invigorated an entire generation to know who Pennywise was again. So I'm gonna say Pennywise. I think that it's had a cultural impact and a half.
All right. So it's your number one. What do you got for number two?
Alien or the Xenomorph.
Oh,
I know, I know, I know.
all
I just
right.
think
Why'd you pick?
culturally, the movie, what it's done, Ridley Scott, Sigourney Weaver, just the fear of that movie when it first came out was like no other. Culturally, it's impacted everything. It's a genius artistic like creature. It's amazing. Yeah, that's nine. Alien,
All right.
Xenomorph. Eight. Yeah,
Okay.
eight. Number eight. We got Jason. Yeah,
Wow,
he's
that's
up high.
low.
I mean, it's that's I know that's yeah, yeah. Culturally,
Wow. I thought,
I've been like back and forth about this, but culturally, I would have to say Jason. And we just did what was it? Jason Takes Manhattan, and I think that just kicked them down the list a little bit. It was just not the best Jason movie, so that's where I'm at with Jason. I'll do number seven now. Freddy Krueger. Also
my
pretty low.
God.
Pretty low.
Yeah.
I know.
What the
Pretty low,
hell?
but I would have to say Freddy right there with Jason at the same time in the 80s. Robert Englund, that's a movie that's been remade. There's shows. It's insane how much has been done. When you think of the 80s, you literally think, oh, like Michael Jackson, Back to the Future, Alf, and Freddy Krueger, I think. Right. What do you think? And like I don't know, random stuff, but like he's when you
Yeah.
think of the 80s, you think Freddy Krueger too.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
Number six, just because to me, it's a great character. Hannibal Lecter, I would have to say.
Hmm.
Culturally, it's won the Academy Award. Anthony Hopkins was, I mean, not just Silence of the Lambs, but all the other films, Red Dragon and Hannibal, I thought were
Yeah.
just great. The character's amazing. Um, a cannibal that's like a genius and a serial killer. It's insane to me
Yeah.
how cool of a character, and it feels like a real character too. That could be on this earth. Who knows? Um, who else? Five. Okay, this is one I was like, maybe not. I was between this one and someone else, and I'll give the honorable mention after is Jaws. I thought
Oh.
that movie changed the way people go swimming, how people think about sharks, how people anything about the water, the ocean. You want to talk a cultural impact? It's Jaws.
Yeah.
Spielberg. That movie is regarded as one of the best film movies of all time. Number four, Norman Bates.
Oh
I
boy,
know. Wasn't expecting that one, were you? But
I wasn't.
culturally, I think Norman Bates is one of the best villains, horror villains of all time. And Psycho, I think, really put a lot of horror slasher on the map. And you got to give credit where credit's due with Norman Bates. So Norman Bates at number four. Bold,
All
bold.
right. Yeah.
This one, and I'm telling you, I worked on this list for so long and I deleted it and I started it over. So number
Yeah.
three, I'm gonna give to my boy Frankenstein.
Frankenstein,
The
the
greatest,
monster.
he's the monster, he's a horror
Yeah.
villain, culturally impact. Any kid's lunchbox from Happy Meal from McDonald's had Frankenstein on it. You can't go wrong with Frankenstein. He's been in a tons of movies. How many remakes? The book, it's insane how much has been done with Frankenstein. Number two, Dracula. Another, I know,
Oh
I
my
know, I know,
god.
I know, I know. My list is I hope it's very different than yours. I hope it's very different than yours. And this is why I probably stuck with my list this way because I knew it'd be different than yours. Another film that Bela Lugosi, the original, the way that movie was done, the amount of movies, and you can say Nosferatu as well, but the amount of vampire movies from that movie, just culturally, I think
Yep.
it'll be around for after we're gone. Yeah, I also think like Pepsi commercials too, like what they used back in the 90s, it was all like the classic Universal monsters. I don't know. I was just thinking like culturally, these guys. And number
Yeah.
one, I mean, my number one.
Is
Michael
it
Myers. It's
Wolfman? Oh God.
Michael
Okay. Right.
Myers
Right.
is
Right. Right.
to me the greatest villain of horror of all time.
Yeah.
I have two honorable mentions if you want to hear
Wait. Wait.
them.
Wait. Talk more about Michael Myers, though. That's your number one. You got
I
to give
mean,
us.
there's not
Yeah.
much to
Give us.
say. There's not much to say. He is the boogeyman. He is the boogeyman, period. He's the best horror villain of all time in my mind. Nothing compares. I loved, and we've talked about all the movies. The original is my favorite movie, 1979 Halloween by John Carpenter. I love the 2017 or 18 remake, not remake, but sequel. That to me was like one of the coolest cinematic moments, like watching that in the movie theater. To me, that he's the best. So that's my number one. Bold,
Whew. All right.
bold.
Let's. I mean, do you want to save the? Yeah. Save the honorable mentions for the end. We'll
But you're
both
gonna
do
think I
ours.
stole them from you if I say them. I'm
What?
kidding. I'm kidding. Just go.
Hey,
Just
I
go.
have no idea what yours are.
All right.
I'm writing mine down now, but yeah, ours are very different.
I love
So
it. I love it.
this is going to be interesting. I can just read it off here.
I'm
Okay.
just gonna listen. I'm not gonna give you any feedback to the end. I'm gonna have reactions, but I'm gonna listen.
Yeah. Our mics are cut off when the other person's talking, just like the debate. But all right. So for my bottom, my number 10, basically, I have Leatherface.
Mm,
So I chose Leatherface because he's scary when you look at him. The idea of him is scary. He wears other people's faces, obviously, but he's a product of his circumstance. Like he's not somebody. He's like going out and killing people. He's like a spider and a fly to the web. Like he's waiting for people to come to him. Then he kills them because he's like, "What are you doing in my house?" Basically. Um, he's been a cultural impact because like he's been since 1974 until 2022 he's had I don't know 10 or so movies basically, so he's had quite a longevity in that. And I just think for 1974, I mean, he really was like a landmark character. I mean, I think Michael Myers from 1978 onwards, like he's like the guy that people think of as like the slasher, archetype. But Leatherface is before him, and he's been doing kind of the same thing. I think Texas Chainsaw Massacre doesn't get the same kind of respect as a slasher that like Friday 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street or Halloween gets. But anyways, so Leatherface. Then my number nine, one of my only ones that's the same as you, is Pennywise. So that's
nice.
one I took him off. I was between him and a few of my honorable mentions, but I was like, but yeah, same as you. I mean, he's very much in the cultural zeitgeist. People are afraid of him, the whole clown thing. I think if anybody thinks of a scary clown, he's the first thing they think of. And a lot of people are afraid of clowns, it seems. Yeah, Tim Curry did a great job. Bill Skarsgård did a great job. The miniseries was fantastic. But part one, I really liked. Part two was okay. But yeah, I think he's terrifying. He's from Stephen King, so it's like, yeah, he's got a great origin. And just his idea is scary. I mean, he's like an alien. So, anyways, I like Pennywise. Oh, just like that he can change shapes. That's another thing. Then number eight, somebody I was kind of surprised you didn't have is Ghostface from the Scream movies. I like Ghostface because I think when we were kids in the '90s, like that was the horror villain. Like that squishy mask with the blood, like everybody had that. Everybody's dressing up. Scary Movie was spoofing it. Like it was the like character of the '90s in my mind. He's the Freddy of the '90s, basically to me. I also just like think that franchise, the six movies, it doesn't have a bad one really. Like there's some that are like okay, but like as far as horror franchises go, I think Scream is like at the top for just consistently good. And I know that it's a different person behind the mask in every movie, but like still it's part of the excitement of the film is figuring out who it's gonna be. So I've always liked that about the Scream movies. So yeah, so Ghostface is my number eight. Then I had Hannibal Lecter. So same as you. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, I want to mention this too. I have their kills written down as well. So Leatherface has 24 kills, Ghostface has 36 kills, and Hannibal Lecter has 27 kills.
That we
Hannibal
know
Lecter,
of.
that we know of. But yeah, Hannibal Lecter, very cool character. Just like he's from Nazi Germany, and like so his backstory is messed up too. Yeah, he eats people. He's super educated. One of the first horror characters to get recognized for an Academy Award that really brought horror into the mainstream that way. Anthony Hopkins is incredible. But the Hannibal TV show, I've seen a few episodes on NBC. That was pretty good. Hannibal Rising, I didn't really like very much. That was like the prequel movies. But yeah, Hannibal Lecter is a great character, and yeah, I really like him a lot. All right, getting on to number six. This was tough. It was between Hannibal and this guy. I was like going back and forth because I like Hannibal more. But Pinhead, I got Pinhead from the Hellraiser
Pinhead.
series.
Pinhead doesn't deserve
Because
it.
no, I think he does. I think he does because he's like the underdog '80s slasher villain that basically like everybody knows who he is. But even if you haven't seen the movies are what hurt Pinhead. Pinhead is better than the movies that he's in. If the movies were better, Pinhead would be just up there with Jason, Freddy, and Michael Myers and all of them. But his movies are not very good. There's so many straight to video ones. It's just like people give up after like the third one. But
His image is terrifying. Period. Like his image is
and,
iconic. I agree. So that
and
I'll take that back a little bit. Like Pinhead. No, Pinhead's good.
and also like for me personally, a little bit of bias. I thought he was the scariest like VHS box when I was a kid at Blockbuster. Like I thought Freddy was scary, but like Pinhead really freaked me out. So I made that
Because you
movie so
see
much
that and
scarier.
you're like, what is this? Like in the movie, you're right, doesn't live up to the image almost.
None of them do. I mean, after the first one, he takes much more of a center role, but the first one, he's like barely in it. But he's on the cover but yeah. Anyways, Doug Bradley, I think, has got a place in. He does a great job. So it's a very, I don't know. I think he's a pretty underrated slasher killer or whatever horror villain. All right, number five. This was tough. It was five and three. I'm sorry, five and six were tough for me, but I have Chucky as my number five. Dude, Chucky is everybody knows Chucky, no matter who you are, how old you are, what country you're in, you know the killer doll Chucky. You've never seen the movies, whatever. Movie started in 1988, has continued up until now. They're doing the TV series now. Brad Dourif has stayed the voice. They had the remake with Mark Hamill, but whatever. We're focusing on the original one. I love that series. I think the movies it goes like it's like in a peak basically. It goes really well, then it kind of gets shitty, and then it goes really good again. So I don't know. He's not scary. I know he's a doll, whatever. But the character, the wisecracks, the him being a serial killer that transformed into the doll, and how evil he is. He wants to kill. Like I think Chuck and like you ask a lot of kids or people our age when they were young what freaked them out the most. A lot of people say Chucky. Um, so, anyways, also Halloween Horror Nights at Universal is still doing a Chucky, horror night thing. So it's pretty damn popular still in the TV series. All right, moving on to the top four. So this is one. Mine's higher than yours, but I was kind of a little surprised how low yours was. But Jason,
Yeah.
I mean,
I knew you'd have these guys higher. I knew it.
Jason is like I mean, if you think slasher movies, I don't think that you can think of anybody but Jason first. I mean, you can have personal tastes and stuff like that. Like Jason's not my favorite of the slashers at all, but I can't deny like his impact on the 80s. I mean, from 1980 to 1989, we got 8 movies. That's like almost one a year. He dominated the box office there. And then people, we haven't had a movie in 15 years. People are begging to bring
Yeah.
him back.
Yep.
It's not like people are like, "Oh, what's those
It's
movies?"
been
No,
too
they're
no,
like,
it's like it's been way too long since we've had Jason. So yeah.
but even though it's been too long, people are mad about it. Like they want more Jason. So I think that shows how popular he is. And I'm just gonna say this right now. I've never been a fan of the hockey mask. I don't know. I love Jason. I love the idea of Jason. But I just think the hockey mask, it's like, why? Like, just why? It's random, but it's so synonymous with Jason now. And hockey goalies don't wear those masks anymore. So it's like people think that that mask is Jason's mask now, than more so than a hockey mask, I think.
Those movies
Um,
had the weirdest chemistry that just worked. It somehow he got the mask and that just built the ramp to take Jason off. That was it. Because that was a cheap
yeah,
mask to make, and you could be that for Halloween for you already have the mask at home if you're a goalie in hockey.
yeah. I mean, so so I think he's just like huge. But the reason that I put him below my number 4 or number 3, I'll tell you now my number 3, Michael Myers. So Michael Myers, I have him above Jason. Oh, Jason I'm sorry. Pinhead has 41 kills. Chucky has 32. Jason Voorhees has 158. Holy shit. And then Michael Myers, my number 3, has 124 kills. So the reason I put Michael above Jason, I think Michael is not as popular as Jason. I think Jason is more popular than Michael, but I think that Michael is the reason Jason exists. So without Michael, there is no Jason. Sean S. Cunningham has openly said that they wanted to make a ripoff of Halloween. That's what Friday the 13th is. But Michael is the embodiment of evil. Like there's no rhyme or reason to it. He's got revenge. He wants to kill his family, but we don't know why. So to us, he's the boogeyman. He's the embodiment of evil. He's true evil. Jason, like Leatherface, is a product of his environment, kind of. He's getting revenge because he thinks his mother was killed. He was wronged by the counselors. So, in a weird way, they're almost justified in their act, why they're doing it in a weird way. Michael seemingly had a good upbringing. Let's ignore the Rob Zombie ones. He seemingly had a good upbringing. Seemingly, everything was fine. And then one day he just snaps at 6 years old and kills his sister and, goes to a mental asylum and then breaks out and then kills everybody. So Michael to me is more terrifying in that way. I think if Michael and Jason fought, I think Jason would win. But we won't go there today. But yeah, so I think Michael is a more terrifying villain than Jason for those reasons, because it's just like this primal, I gotta kill and I gotta kill certain people, and then if other people get in the way, I'm whatever. But Jason's just like he's an animal basically. All right, number 2. This was tough. I almost put this as number 1. I think you're gonna freak out at my number 1. But number 2, Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, I knew
So
it. I had a feeling. I was like, it's Freddy. It's Freddy.
I mean,
Wow.
he's got 43 kills. He
You've been
is
hanging out with
more,
Joe too much, man. You've been hanging out with Joe too much with the Fred. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I mean, I think Freddy's the scariest of the 3 of Jason, Michael, and Mike, Jason, Michael, and Freddy. Freddy's the scariest. He's got the best backstory, I think. I mean, he was just like a murderer, child murderer or whatever, that then got granted gift of being able to kill forever as a demon. So Freddy, yeah, I just think like he uses one blade, which I think is really cool. Like Michael and Jason, they kind of use. I mean, they're associated with machetes and knives, but they'll use whatever. But. And Freddy also is sadistic. He thinks of these kills and like it's constructed. Everything's constructed to make these kids terrified and to murder them. Where Jason just kills whoever, doesn't care. Michael seems like he enjoys it a little bit, like when he stabs and then looks at his artwork and stuff like that. But Freddy like relishes in it, and he got goofy because he talks, but he's got that up on Jason and Michael too. He can talk, so you can understand how evil he is.
I put Freddy ahead of Jason just because honestly his movies are better. I don't know
Yeah, they
if
are. Oh yeah,
anyone would disagree with that. Yeah.
they're better. Yeah, they're better movies. All right, my number 1. You're never gonna see this coming. Take a guess. Just take a guess. Who you think my number 1 is?
I mean, it's one of my honorable mentions, but Jack Torrance.
Nope.
That was a
All right,
guess. All right.
let's go. All right. I think this is gonna be controversial, but let's go. Pazuzu slash Reagan from The Exorcist. So I chose it. Let's say Pazuzu. We won't say Reagan. We'll say Pazuzu. But like 1973, this is the scariest thing that's ever been on film. To me, it still holds up very well. Like this is a very scary movie still, everything about it. But the character, the idea of it, it's this ancient demon that like has revenge with Father Marin, but also possesses like weak, vulnerable people. I haven't seen the second one. I did see the third one a long time ago. So and then the Dominion and all that stuff. It's like whatever. I saw the new one. It wasn't great. So the movies aren't that amazing, but no matter what, the first one was so good. It's like Jaws. It just overshadows the bad ones. People love the original one, and I think it'd be pretty hard to find somebody that doesn't know what The Exorcist is, or the projectile vomiting,
Yeah,
or
but
just
no
the
one
head
knows who
spinning around.
Pazuzu is. They just know, oh yeah, the girl.
The
Yeah.
demon from The Exorcist.
The
Yeah.
d
So that's why I literally wrote Pazuzu slash Reagan
yeah,
from The
yeah.
Exorcist.
Exorcist
But
girl.
yeah. So yeah, it's tough to give her the number one, but I'm terrified of her still to this day. The face, the flash of the face of the demon, so scary. How they show old Iraq and like, having it be this like really old ancient demon, like it freaks me out.
Another movie that's gotten an Academy Award as well. So
Yeah, yeah. So, and that movie's, the box office money of like everybody in the world was seeing that movie 50 years ago. So, yeah. So I had Dracula as it was in my top 10, but I took him off. But all right. So
you put
I think
Chucky over Dracula. Is that what you did? Put
I
Chucky
did,
over
I did.
Dracula? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because I think people Dracula's almost like a Santa Claus figure now. Like he's not even he's scary, but like he's so common that I don't think people are afraid of him anymore.
That's
But
fair.
all right, so I think so 5, 9. Yeah, it's gonna be Michael Myers. Michael Myers is gonna be
He
number
always
one.
wins. He always wins.
Yeah, Michael Myers number one, and then Freddy would be number two, but not
Yeah.
by much. Yeah, so I mean, it's gonna the only ones we had in common were Freddy, Michael Myers, and Jason, and Hannibal.
And
Oh, and
Pennywise.
Pennywise. Yeah, but those are all lower down. So yeah, so yeah, Freddy. It's Michael, Freddy, Jason. That's the top three.
I also had the
So
Blob on my list too to give like a shout out to like those movies too. I thought of the
yeah,
Blob for
let's
a second.
let's go. Let's do the honorable
So
mentions.
Michael Freddy, what's the third place
Jason.
from our list? I mean, that's pretty standard, like how that turned
Yeah,
out. And our list is
yeah,
all over the place. So
yeah, yeah. It's just because you had Michael Myers as your number one, and I had him as my number three. There's like no
one
way.
I'm mad that I didn't have that you said was Ghostface. I'm like
Yeah,
that one out of everything you said, I was like, I mean Leatherface, I thought that I was like, oh yeah, these but then when you said Ghostface, I was like, absolutely deserves that a spot on any list. On any Mount
yeah.
Rushmore, Like Eddie Mount Rushmore should have him.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people are gonna enjoy our honorable mentions because there's one that I think just because he's so new probably deserves it. But anyways, let's go through. Do you want to do yours first?
Do what first of them?
Honorable mentions.
Oh, I have one more. I said Jack Torrance was one of mine.
Oh yeah,
Just I don't know. That's always going to be in as one of the great. Here's Johnny, like all that. I Doctor Sleep was amazing too. Not that Jack is really in it as much. It's like a flashback scene, but I think that's a cultural villain that's just amazing too. I just love the acting. It's a phenomenal film too. And The Blob and Penny. What was my other one? Jack Torrance and The Blob. Sorry, that's all I had.
Oh, that's all you had?
For my honorable mention, that's all I was thinking of. But Ghostface
Oh man.
would be up there in Leatherface now. So yeah.
Oh, okay. I have one on mine that I'm very surprised you didn't have at all on yours, but I'll get to it. All right. So the one that I was like, I don't love, and the reason I didn't put him on is because Ghostface has the same logic, I guess, is a different killer almost every movie, but Jigsaw. Jigsaw, like
Yeah.
he's very popular. He's been in like 10 movies and people love him. And I know we don't really love the Saw movies, but I feel like people like him enough to get some credit. So
But that's
anyways,
like you could
Jigsaw.
also say like the Paranormal Activity thing at that point. Like those movies were around the same time, like constant. Every year was either Saw or Paranormal Activity. Saw or Paramount Activity. I don't know. That's like what I
Yeah.
remember.
But Jigsaw, he's the doll, or he's the guy, like, so you can at least put a face to it. But anyways, so yeah, I had Jigsaw, then I have the Creeper from Jeepers Creepers, which I know he's only been in like four movies, I guess, but I think he's pretty scary. I don't think he has a lot of cultural impact, but the
If
idea
we
of him is
did
pretty
this
scary.
list in 2005, the Creeper would make the list. Period.
Yeah, but yeah, so he just doesn't have enough movies and stuff like that. This one's like a more of a personal one. I'm just terrified of him. Is Babadook. I thought the Babadook was scary, but yeah, it doesn't deserve that at all, really. Bagul from
Cool.
Sinister. I thought he was pretty scary, but again, he's only been
I
in two
wouldn't even,
movies.
no household
I
person
know,
would remember
I
that.
know. You
Maybe a
wouldn't have
lot
looked
of
at me.
horror
Yeah.
fans would, but um, Art the Clown, another one that's
I have
very,
him. I have Art.
as an honorable mention. Yeah,
Yep, I got Art because yeah, the third one's coming out. I'll
it's
see
one of
it.
those new, fresher ones. He's the newest. He's the new kid on the block right now. There's three. Everyone knows who he is at this point. Starting to become a household name more faster than a lot of other things. Yeah.
Yeah, second one really messed me up, but anyways. All right, then I've got Candyman.
Yeah.
Candyman. I mean, there aren't a lot of black slashers, so I think for him to be on that list is, I don't know. I think it's good, but also he's scary and his backstory is scary. I mean, he was killed in colonial times because he was with a white woman. They just murdered him and they
Yeah.
killed him with bees. They put like bees and honey all over him, and then yeah, so it's like a tragic story, but he's also terrifying. And Tony Todd did a really great job, so I
Tony
like
Todd's
Candyman.
awesome. Yeah.
All right, my last couple ones here. I had Dracula because yeah, culturally he's huge. Yeah, he's definitely huge, and he's
Gotta
been
put
in.
an oldie up there. I put two up there though. I probably should have picked one. If I had to pick, I obviously had picked Dracula second, so I Dracula over Frankenstein. But yeah,
Yeah, Dracula's because I just vampires, I guess, but he's the
vampires.
vampire.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Xenomorphs. I did have Xenomorphs as my honorable mention, and then the last one, which I'm kind of surprised you didn't have, is the Leprechaun. I
That's like
mean,
your
yeah,
Chucky to me. Like that's the same. I don't know. I guess like
yeah,
I have no like besides Freddy Krueger, I have no like funny killers. Pennywise, I guess, but everyone else is more like I guess Jason too, but like everything else is very serious, I guess.
yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, my honorable mentions, whatever. But I think we have a pretty solid list. And yeah, I think you're right. Like, no matter what, at the end of the day, Freddy, Jason,
Michael,
and Michael Myers, they're always going to be near the top.
yeah.
But yeah, but I mean, this was nice. This was fun to do a video
We
episode.
should do
And
more of these, and I should work on my beautiful backdrop of wood paneling, a little shiplap action. I like
I
yours.
got
Yours is more fun.
I got my Freddy box set
There
here.
you go.
Yeah.
There you go. There's a
Blade
boy.
Runner. Yeah. But yeah,
Your switch back
so
there. Nice, nice.
I'm in test switch, and then you can't really see it, but my Nightmare or Friday 13th, the new
Oh, the
blood.
poster. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a good
Anyways,
poster.
yeah. All right. Well, anyways, yeah, everybody, thank you very much, I guess, for listening in today to our first video episode on the top 10 horror films of all time. And we'll be back next week with The Burning, which
Yeah.
we'll see if it'll be a video episode. I don't know. We'll find out. We'll see how hard this is to edit. Otherwise,
Yeah, cut
but
out all
yeah,
the bad stuff. Just bleep this out right now. It's just me swearing. Beep beep beep. It's beep 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 beep.
we'll
Beep,
see.
beep.
I don't even know if I will be able to edit it, so I have to keep everything in. But I mean, I don't think we said anything bad. But
Nah, we're all right. Not this time.
all right. Well,
All right.
everybody, thanks for listening in, and we'll see you next week.
With the burning.
Do it again.
Woo! Woo!